There is an object in a museum in Athens that has been fully explained. We know how it was built, we know what it does, we know who made it. And the next object, like it was not built for another 1,400 years. In April 2026, a YouTuber with a hand file helped close the last open question about how it worked. This is what that object is. But first, October 1900, a group of sponge divers from the island of Simi, a storm, and a wreck nobody knew was there. Elias Stadiatis descends to check the seafloor near Antikythera. The water visibility is poor. He reaches approximately 45 meters before he sees them. Bronze arms, marble faces, the outline of figures in the sediment. He surfaces almost immediately and tells the captain there are horses and naked women on the bottom. He had found a Roman shipwreck, a merchant vessel, probably carrying luxury goods from Greece to Rome, that went down sometime around 65 BCE. Loaded with bronze and marble statuary, glassware, jewelry, and cargo, the sea had spent nearly 2,000 years quietly preserving. The Greek government is notified. By spring of 1900, the Greek Royal Navy is coordinating what becomes the first major underwater archaeological excavation in recorded history. It is brutal work. The divers use heavy canvas suits and copper helmets, breathing through air pumped from the surface. At 45 meters, each dive lasts minutes. Several divers suffer decompression sickness. One dies. Another is permanently paralyzed. They haul up bronze statuary, glassware, pottery, corroded fittings, coins. The operation continues through 1901. The recovered objects are transported to the National Archaeological Museum in Athens, statues that would become among the finest examples of Hellenistic bronze work ever found. Among them, a lump, a mass of corroded bronze and wood roughly the size of a large dictionary. Catalogued, stored, ignored. For a year. In 1902, museum archaeologist Valerios Stais is going through the stored collection when he notices something inside the corroded mass. The corrosion has cracked open. Inside, he can see gears, small toothed bronze wheels interlocking. He publishes a note. The object may be some kind of astronomical clock, he writes. The scholarly response is near universal dismissal. Ancient Greeks did not produce gear-driven mechanisms. The technology is too advanced for the period. The lump goes back into storage. It will remain largely unstudied for the next. In 1951, a British physicist named Derek de Solla Price visits the National Archaeological Museum in Athens. He is shown the corroded bronze object. Price is a historian of science at Yale, and he understands within minutes that what he is looking at is not a curiosity. He spends the next 23 years studying it. His first significant publication comes in 1959 in Scientific American. The object is an ancient astronomical calculator, he argues, a mechanical device for tracking celestial movements. Classicists remain skeptical. Engineers and physicists do not. In 1972, Price uses X-ray radiography to examine the mechanism's interior without taking it apart. What he finds goes beyond anything he had published. At least 30 interlocking bronze gears arranged in a complex differential system, triangular teeth, axle-mounted, calibrated. The mechanism can calculate multiple astronomical cycles at the same time. Price publishes his full analysis in 1974 under the title Gears from the Greeks. His conclusion, the Antikythera mechanism, is a hand-cranked mechanical computer built most likely between 85 and 60 BCE, capable of tracking the positions of the Sun, Moon, and 5 known planets. Then, in 2005, a research consortium forms archaeologists, astronomers, and imaging specialists from Cardiff University, the University of Athens, the University of Thessaloniki, and a private imaging company, the Antikythera Mechanism Research Project. In 2006, they put the fragments in a CT scanner. It takes a year to process the results. Not 30 gears, 37. 37 bronze gears across 3 sections: front, back upper, back lower, each section running a different calculation, all driven by a single hand crank on the side. The front face has a large dial for the Egyptian calendar, 365 days, with an inner ring for the Greek zodiac. One pointer tracks the sun's position through the year. Another tracks the moon. A small sphere, half gold and half black, rotates to show the current lunar phase. The gearing required to produce accurate lunar motion alone involves a pin and slot epicyclic mechanism, a system of nested moving parts so precise that engineers who have studied it describe it as elegant even by modern standards. The back face has 2 large spiral dials. The upper spiral tracks the Metonic cycle, 19 years, 235 lunar months, the period after which the Sun and Moon return to the same positions relative to each other. Greek astronomers used this cycle to keep the solar and lunar calendars aligned. The mechanism tracks it mechanically, with a pointer moving along a 5-turn scale. Inside the Metonic spiral is a smaller subsidiary dial for the Olympiad cycle. 4 years, the interval between Olympic Games. The mechanism knows the game's schedule. The lower spiral tracks the Saros cycle, 18 years and 11 days, after which solar and lunar eclipses repeat in the same pattern. The operator can use this dial to predict months or years out when eclipses will occur and what type they will be. Small glyphs around the edge mark individual events by month and eclipse category. The CT scanning in 2006 also revealed text, inscriptions covering much of the mechanism's bronze casing. A user manual in ancient Greek. It describes how to read each dial, what each pointer represents, and how to interpret the eclipse predictions. Researchers have been able to read substantial portions of it. The text confirms that the mechanism's designers understood it would be operated by someone who needed instruction. The mechanism also tracks the positions of Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn using epicyclic gearing that accounts for the irregular apparent motion of planets as seen from Earth. All of this in a box 34 centimeters tall, 18 wide, 9 deep. Built before Julius Caesar crossed the Rubicon, here is the problem. The mechanism was built between 85 and 60 BCE. The next device of comparable mechanical complexity we can document is the astronomical clock of Richard of Wallingford, built at St Albans Abbey in England between 1327 and 1336 AD, 1400 years. This is not a gap in astronomical knowledge. Greek, Roman, Byzantine, and Islamic scholars kept developing astronomy throughout the whole period. Ptolemy, writing in Alexandria in the 2nd century AD, produced astronomical tables accurate enough to be used by navigators for the next 1,000 years. Islamic scholars in Baghdad in the 9th century were translating Greek astronomical texts and extending them. The knowledge base grew continuously. What disappeared specifically was the practice of encoding that knowledge into mechanical gears. The decision to make a physical machine that computes rather than a table that records. Nobody knows why that particular step was. Cicero, writing in the 1st century BCE, describes a device attributed to Archimedes, a small sphere that reproduced the movements of the sun, moon, and planets when turned. He says he saw it himself. Archimedes worked in Syracuse in the 3rd century BCE, a generation before the Antikythera mechanism was made. The engineering tradition that produced the mechanism almost certainly ran through his school. Hero of Alexandria, writing a century after the mechanism was built, describes gear-driven theatrical automata in considerable technical detail. The knowledge of gearing had not vanished. It was being applied to entertainment. And yet no device like the Antikythera mechanism has turned up anywhere else. Not in Rome, not in Alexandria, not in Constantinople, not in Baghdad. The archaeological record across the entire ancient and medieval world contains exactly one object of this type. Whether there were once hundreds of these and none survived the bronze melters, or whether only a handful were ever built, and this is the last one, is genuinely unknown. What is documented? For 1,400 years after this was made, nothing like it was produced. Then European clockmakers in the 14th century started building mechanical astronomical calculators. They had no idea the Antikythera mechanism existed. They got to the same place on their own. Price was its most persistent advocate for 3 decades. He died on September 3rd, 1983. He never saw CT scanning applied to the object he had studied since 1951. The Antikythera mechanism research project did more in a year than the previous century of study combined. The CT data from 2006 revealed not just additional gears, but the full text of the inscriptions, the precise geometry of each dial, and the gearing ratios that had been impossible to confirm from X-ray imaging alone. In 2008, the project published findings in Nature, documenting the mechanism's planetary display system, confirming all 5 visible planets were tracked. In 2016, a second expedition returned to the Antikythera wreck using modern diving technology. They recovered additional fragments, smaller, corroded, but identifiable by their material composition and gear tooth profiles. Analysis is ongoing. In 2021, a UCL team published a reconstruction of the mechanism's front planetary display using computational geometry derived from ancient Greek mathematical methods. The conclusion: the front display can be fully explained by mathematics that Greek scholars of the 1st century BCE already had. The engineering is not beyond what ancient craftsmen could do. The question that keeps coming back is not how they built it, it's why nothing like it survived. In April 2026, a paper was published resolving one of the longest-standing technical arguments about the mechanism. University of Glasgow led the research. One of the co-authors runs a YouTube channel. His name is Chris Budiselic. His channel is ClickSpring. For several years, he documented his attempt to rebuild the Antikythera mechanism using only tools and techniques available in the 1st century BCE: hand files, period bronze, alloys, ancient casting methods. He cut each gear tooth by hand. He cast the bronze himself. He tested whether the tolerances required by the mechanism were achievable with period tools and documented every step. Researchers started paying attention. Budiselic wasn't making a replica. He was running a physical experiment that laboratory modeling couldn't replicate. What actually happens when you try to build this thing with what they had? The dispute he helped settle involves the calendar ring on the back of the mechanism. The ring tracks the metonic cycle and has holes around its circumference, each one accepting a pin that advances the ring one position at a time. For decades, researchers couldn't agree on how many holes the original had. The dominant theory said 365, matching a solar year. The alternative said 354 or 355, matching a lunar year. The number determines the gearing ratios that drive the ring, which determines what the back calendar was actually doing. Get it wrong, and you misread a significant portion of how the device works. Deciphering found that building the ring with 365 holes using first-century tools produced a result that didn't work cleanly. The spacing was off, the pin mechanism bound. With 354 holes, everything aligned. When the University of Glasgow team worked that physical finding into their mathematical model, it held. The back calendar tracks the lunar year. The paper lists Deciphering as co-author, a craftsman researcher whose work started as a YouTube project named alongside academics in a peer-reviewed publication. It answered a question Price raised in 1974 that the 2006 court data couldn't resolve. 52 years later, answered partly by a man who built one by hand. The Antikythera mechanism is not a physics mystery. Greek craftsmen of the 1st century BCE had the metallurgical skill, the mathematical knowledge, and the astronomical data to build it. We've reconstructed their methods. We've built working models using only what they had. And it's not a knowledge mystery either. The metonic cycle, the Saros cycle, the Olympiad, all documented in Greek texts that survived. Nothing was lost. What nobody has explained is the silence. Something built this device in the 1st century BCE, and then, as far as the record goes, stopped. We don't know if there were 100 like it, or 3. We don't know who commissioned this one, who operated it, or what decisions were made based on the eclipse predictions it produced. We don't know if anyone on that ship had any idea what was in the cargo. It spent roughly 2,000 years on the floor of the Aegean. It sat in a museum for a year after it was pulled up. The first time someone noticed the gears, the academic response was that the gears couldn't be ancient. The mechanism is in the National Archaeological Museum in Athens. 82 fragments. Fragment A is the largest, the main drive gear, most of the front dial. Fragment F has part of the Saros eclipse prediction dial. It's still calibrated to its original parameters, the gearing ratios that Price calculated in 1974 and that the UCL team confirmed in 2021 are the same ratios the original craftsman cut into bronze 2,000 years ago. The first eclipse it would have predicted after the ship went down happened on. No one was there to see it.